Hi everyone, this is postcard 142 of Double Cross Anime. Today we're doing the mid-season check-in of the fall 2021 season. We have three at the moment. It's Ousama Ranking, Heike Monogatari, and Lupin III Part VI.
Right.
And then we doing the another batch of 5 episodes of 31 to 35.
Yes. Where should we start? I mean, obviously Touch is going to be at the end, but
Yep. I think let's start with Osama rankings.
Osama Ranking. Okay. Let's do it. So we already talked about the first episode, I think, in the fall 2021 first impressions video, whenever
First
that
impression.
was. The start of October, I guess, or maybe middle
Yep.
of October. So we've already discussed the first episode, which I think both of us were big fans of. 2 through 6, that's because that's where we are now, up to episode 6 out of its 23 episode run. That's what it's projected to end at. How do you feel after
Yep.
episodes 2 through 6 have come out? Because I feel a little differently about the show now than I did then.
Oh, of course. Of course. Like I do say that each single episode have been very entertaining and very different from from the episode that came before.
Yeah.
So at first it looked like a like a fairy tale. It had like the storybook look in it on it, and the more that we learn about the characters, the more that they they have like different agenda. They have like like the hidden side that really different from what they appear at first. So I really like that aspect of the show.
You're talking about like Queen Hilling
Mm-hmm.
actually being Boji's ally, despite her introduction kind of implying that she was favoring Daida above,
Yep.
everyone and everything else. I guess
Not
who else would fit that bill? The guy, the
yeah
swords,
the
Domas, the
the
sword
mask. Yep.
teacher who pushes Boji off the cliff into the gates of hell in episode 4.
That that's right. And even to other characters like Bebin, is like
The snake guy,
master. Yeah, the snake guy. Or the spare guy appears that we just saw in episode 6. Like
yeah.
I thought that APS is one of the good guy. It turned out now that he might not. He might be against
Well,
Bochi for the list.
Appias
At the
is an
list.
interesting case because we don't
Yep.
know exactly what's going on with him. He appears to be loyal to not necessarily Boji, but Bose, the former king who passes away in
Mm-hmm.
which episode is it that he dies? Is it 2 or 3?
It three.
Yeah. Okay. It's Appias is loyal to Bose
Mm-hmm.
primarily because he puts his finger up, indicating that he would prefer for Boji to be the new king in the little secret vote that they have and the council has in episode 3. So you
Mm-hmm.
figure he's on Boji's side, sort of.
Yep.
But he's not loyal. He's not sufficiently loyal to Bose, because he's also loyal to the woman in the magic mirror whose name is Miranjo.
Yep.
We don't really know. I mean, she whispers something to him, and Daida can't overhear what it is, so we
Yep.
don't understand what his deal is. It's
Yep.
too early to say one way or another. And the way that the show goes about portraying that is a little confusing because in episode 5, which is the one that focuses on like the potion brewing process,
Mm-hmm.
like because Miranjo's henchmen, I guess, want Daida to drink this potion that's created from the frozen corpse of his giant father. I mean, even
That's
just saying that
amazing.
sentence
That's
kind of gives you a clue as to how weird the show has gotten.
yep.
But during that episode, as that whole potion brewing process is going on, we get cuts to Appias, who's like walking down steps and along corridors in order to approach Daida, I guess to kill him, but then that just gets called off like in the blink of an eye or in the whisper of a mirror.
Yep.
Sometimes it's hard to know exactly where people stand in this show, and obviously that's intentional because it's broadening its scope with every passing episode. But at the same time, I do feel a little lost occasionally, like from scene to scene.
I actually have that problem with the other
I
show.
sort of enjoy that, and I sort of don't.
Yeah, I actually have that sort of problem with the other show, not this one. I think this one, like all these, it not focused singly on Pucci. It's focused on Daida, on the other characters as well at the same time, and I think I appreciate that.
Yeah, that is cool. Although, for example, episode 5, when it's like more about Daida than it is about Boji, and this is just after Boji has been pushed off a cliff at the end of episode 4. You kind of want the show to center on him for a little bit. I mean, because he's obviously in peril, and we do get a resolution to what happens in episode 5. We know that he's safe and that Kage has been in the knapsack the whole time. But then we cut away to Daida, and it's like his show. And that just I would have preferred, I don't know, if like the events of episode 5 and episode 6, for example, could have been swapped somehow, like rearranged, so that we had stuck with Boji and learned exactly what happened, during his descent down into hell or the underworld, and then cut back to Daida later. I don't always feel as though the show has all its ducks in a row.
Right. I actually felt that the episode 5 is the show best. It's just so good. Like, you don't agree with that?
No, maybe my least favorite. Yeah.
Oh, come on!
All the
Really?
stuff
Alright.
having to do with Daida just doesn't feel like, obviously Daida's he's an important character because he's now the monarch. He's now the king of whatever land we were once centered in. I mean, the show's no longer stuck in one place, but he's an important character for sure. I just like all the details going into how the potion was made and stuff. It doesn't feel particularly character based or narratively important. It's just like a lot of detail being dumped on us, kind of like a light novel might have a long passage like that, detailing how a particular potion is made. It doesn't feel very storybooky, I guess.
Well, I actually really like that. Like we get to see how the process, how it goes, just to see that's the way, like that that's the way the show plan of logic functions. And we see like the literal burst of I think a phoenix, and then it grow and it has cut off. We just see that like in a few seconds, and I think it's amazing. it fuck up, but it's amazing.
It's definitely weird.
Yep.
It's good weird.
Right.
I do like it. I appreciate learning those sorts of details, being shown that sort of stuff. But I do feel as though, since the show is broadening its scope with every passing episode, that it does need to be highly story driven, I think, in order to keep up with itself. So that's what I want to see in general when I sit down to watch an episode of Ousama Ranking.
Yeah. I actually feel that episode 6, the latest one, is one of my least favorites, just because it's a bit, like it's come after the episode 5, which I regard is amazing. So it's a bit
Well, just because it comes after one that you really like doesn't necessarily mean that it's any worse.
Yeah, and and it doesn't have like the complexity that and even like I thought that the scene where Buchi and Kage are talking to that king, I think he's like the second the second king out of all the rankings.
King Desha.
Yeah, I think it ran a bit too long.
Okay. I can understand that because
just
in
me,
the end, King Desha is not the person that they're actually looking for. They've just made a mistake
Yep.
in approaching him and seeking him out. It's really his younger brother, I think, the prince,
Yep.
Despa, who they really want to see.
That's interesting.
So it's another instance of the show kind of, like just adding a little bit of detail, showing us something that's not necessarily super important to our understanding of the world or the characters. Although, with him being ranked second and him being the ruler of the underworld, by the time that the story gets big enough, where we've got like kings and countries doing battle with one another, you got to figure that King Desha is going to be really important. And so the initial meeting that our two heroes would have had with him will probably come back in a major way.
Yep, true.
So I do think it was probably an important meeting.
And set up.
Though he does do a lot of sighing and sneering from his throne there.
Yep, right. But even
it's interesting too that he throws them out. Go ahead.
Yep. he tear off the letters and throw them out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that speaks to his relationship with his brother, I guess.
So in episode 3, we actually learn. I think it's 3 or 4. We actually learn about Princess Healing. Actually, they care about Bochi.
Right.
How do you feel about that review? How do you feel about Healing as the characters?
Interesting. It's good to get a flashback to her, what she was like, her general, I guess, day to day, before Daida came along, before she got pregnant, because she was like Boji's biggest ally before that time. And when Daida came along, I guess she put all of her,
attention
and like plotting and planning to make him the king, I guess. Although after we see the flashback in episode 3, the show kind of, all of her like interactions with Boji after that point are all kind of softened, as though the show is like, gotcha. It's not as though we get this look into her past and then she's still the woman that she was in like the first episode. Obviously she's still the same person, but the show is just framing everything completely differently. And I would have preferred it perhaps not to be so blunt about it.
Right.
Using the flashback in order to recontextualize her behavior rather than like kind of changing it.
I think I understand what you mean. One of the little detail that I really like that the show, they just show, they don't tell about that, is that actually Healing is like the I would say one of the first person who know the sign language in order to communicate with Bochi, and she actually was the one who teach Domas about the sign language. But later on, like when when it come to Bochi and Healing, like officially have a conversation together, it's always they have a translator. So I think it kind of say the distance between them.
I didn't take note of that detail.
Yeah.
Like, I guess not when they're in private, because if they've got a translator there, then they're not in private. But I wonder if Hilling knows that he's capable of reading lips.
I don't think so. I don't think that.
I guess it's only Kage who understands that.
Yep. So
Kage's
that's a little bit of information that I really like, and yeah.
Kage has been sent on a journey. I'm reading my notes here. Kage's been sent on a journey by Bebin. It's interesting that Bebin, who was like positioned as the clearest threat to Kage in episode 1, with his knowledge of the Shadow Clan and his snakes, and his knife throwing ability and stuff, demonstrating that he knows exactly how to deal with Kage's like slipperiness.
Yep.
He allows Kage to go on this journey with Boji, seemingly.
Yep.
So even Bebin, who is like Daida's kind of agent man in the shadows, and who even attempts to assassinate Appias in episode 3, which goes terribly wrong, and he ends up dying, except not really, because he's swallowed up by the earth after losing.
Yep.
Like every time I try to talk about some aspect of the show, there's some other detour that you can go down, because even after just 6 episodes, it's a pretty complicated web, that's been woven between all the different characters. Yep. I don't think we know the status of Bebin yet. Do we? Like whether he's alive, dead, or what exactly has happened to him? Yeah.
But
doubt. He's also not the villain that we once thought. In fact, I mean, if he's allowing Kage to be Boji's ally, then you got to figure he is maybe like a double agent. He's actually the one who's more loyal to King Bose rather than Appias. And he's looking out for Boji like on the sly, even though Hilling has made him Daida's tutor.
Yep. I would say that all the tutor master like Domas, Bebin and Appias, they will I think they will have room for improve. So at time goes on, we will see more of their true intention.
We might see more of their true intentions, but we're going to see a little bit less of Domas from now on, in a literal sense, because he lost his hand. So there'll be a tiny bit less of him in every scene.
Good point. I wouldn't want it any other way. Domas,
you like him better with his hand cut off?
Yep. He deserved to have his hands cut off after what he did.
Yeah, I wonder if that's all there is to him. Like that he had that sword fight with Daida once upon a time, or not once upon a time, a week ago, let's say. And as a result, he really wanted to be Daida's swordsman, and he felt he was a more capable leader, and that's it, and that's why he betrayed Boji, and that's the end of it,
I do think that
if so, that's a little kind of sad.
Yeah, I do think it's more of his doesn't want Boji to be a king, because he kind of pity Boji.
Then why did he push him off a cliff?
Yeah. That's right. This guy.
I mean, if he cares about Boji and doesn't want him to get hurt in the ranking of kings, then why not just, in the course of their journey, why not find a place for him to stay? Like secure, some family who will take care of him, or some neighboring kingdom who will take him in, or something.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously Boji wouldn't be okay with that, but the way most people think about Boji is that he, he's not an opinionated person. Like they can just do what they will with him. They can plot a coup and just kick him off the throne and crown Daida instead. And what's he going to do about it? He can't even talk. So you would figure that Domas could easily come up with a plan like that, just to like send him somewhere else. At least in his mind, that would make sense. Yep. But he didn't do that. He in order to prove his loyalty to Daida, I think he pushed Boji into the gates of hell.
Yeah, well, it's some kind of twisted logic, isn't it? Like Daida, he was disappointed at Domas because Domas didn't vote for Boji, so it means that he disloyal, and then he proceed on to tell Domas to prove his loyalty by killing Boji. It is some kind of like back work.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the deal is there. I think Daida is probably just like trying to exert his control over Domas.
Mm-hmm.
He's just trying to get him at his mercy. So he guilts him by whatever
And
means
then this thing
are
about
available, and then he's like, "Oh well, if you want to get into my good graces, then you better do the exact thing that
Yep.
you know
Yep.
that you would never do." I don't know.
Yep. And there's this thing about the ranking of kings, the titular right there, like they all have to perform, like they will have like the person who come there and rank the all the kings, and the number one gonna obtain something of their choice.
Right. There was, which episode was that? 3 maybe?
4, I think.
Was it? Okay. That kind of detailed what exactly the king who ranks number 1 is given. Like they're given some sort of treasure from God.
Yep. So like,
But the guy who's part of the king ranking council can't say what it is, and it like might drive people insane
yeah,
or something.
Yeah. So he said like they the number one king can have an ability to choose one of like weapon from God, and all these king ended up choosing the
They
one,
chose the same one,
the
but didn't
same
it
one,
make them go
and
crazy or something?
yeah, and only the first one was like it fit him. All these other go insane, and that led me to where Bochi journeys to, and he met, I think, underground. I think he met one of the Mad King there. Remember
Yeah.
when he fought? Yeah, he
I
fought
remember.
into
I remember the
the
dance
pit.
and the
Yeah,
weird
the dance.
shadow being that caused all the forest
Oh God.
creatures to be reborn and stuff. It's very, very weird.
Yes.
Like this is what I'm talking about when I say the show is not. It doesn't always like have everything lined up in a way that is easily digestible. Sometimes it just sends Boji down a hole in the ground so that he can encounter a mad king and eat some chicken legs over the fire, and then see a giant metaphysical representation of the circle of life in the
Yep.
sky.
It's so imaginative. I really like the concept of it.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's also not, not in line really with anything else that we've seen.
Yeah, well,
It's just strange, and I haven't reached a point with the show where I think that it's like too weird or anything. I am like
yep.
kind of delighted whenever I see something like that, like the weird shadow monster in the sky that they do the
Yep.
dance of reconciliation to. Or I mean, I thought the dance was really kind of charming and like well animated and fun. And the potion making process in episode 5, I did think was highly imaginative and kind of verges on like occultism,
Yep.
which is a kind of a cool direction for the story to go in. But at the same time, like I'm trying to make sense of all this, and
Yeah.
it kind of
Well,
defies my efforts
yeah. Well, it all
occasionally.
set up at the moment, so I think it will come more all together as like at the circle song. We only like finished like 1/4 of it. It's gonna be
Well, that's what
23
I'm saying
episodes.
though, is that some of the details that the show is providing are not going to have anything to do with what comes later, like the potion thing. It doesn't matter all the
Yep.
various steps that they took in order to make that potion. That all those details are not going to play into
Yeah.
our understanding of what team Bebin is truly playing for example, or what role this new Prince Despa, who we're meeting next episode, presumably, what his role in the story is going to be. Like the potion doesn't have anything to do with that.
Well, yeah.
So there are some
I
details that feel kind of superfluous, but I do like them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say like by the end of the show, the potion is like one of the things that I will remember the most. Like how it's made,
I can
like
understand that.
how the sausage was made.
Right.
So yeah, love the characters, and I would say like it speaks to the show quality that this show I think like in the few years like comparing like for the last few years, it's one of the show that I feel where time passed the fastest. You know, like I just feel like I'm watching 2-3 minutes of it, and it's the episode is already end.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
have that feeling? I have that feeling.
No.
It doesn't really,
No. I enjoy
long.
the show, you know.
Yeah.
One of my favorites of this year probably so far.
Mhm.
But definitely don't feel as though it passes in 2 or 3 minutes. I don't think I can't remember watching an anime where I felt that way about it.
Yeah. Well.
Maybe a show that was
Yeah.
literally 2 or 3 minutes.
All right. I would say like for all the Akichi's show, Adachi show, it's especially cross game. I have that feeling.
Yeah, maybe I could say this. I could say something similar about Cross Game, but
Yeah.
I when I watched Cross Game, I was like practically out of my mind. Um, like I lost all sense of like my physical body, and I wasn't like eating or drinking. I was just clicking the next episode button. That was very weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ousama Ranking, not really anything like that for me.
Right. Well, cross game is like one of your favorite. So of all
Probably my
time.
favorite anime, at
Yeah.
least TV series. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no compare. But yeah,
Well,
I really enjoy the
I
show so far, and it's
yeah, I also like it. You know, one of my
emotional.
two great hopes for the season,
Yep, yep.
I suppose.
Is that the other one is the one that we will talk about?
Well, we're going to talk about two other shows, and I would say my other great hope, quote unquote, for the season is one of those two. Yes.
All right.
Speaking of which,
Yep.
what should
Let's
we
jump
talk
on to
about
that.
next?
Let's talk about Heike Monogatari.
Man, I'm thoroughly unprepared for this. Been writing about the show every single week. I haven't actually doubled up on any posts yet. I've actually done a
Nice.
post every like 7 days or so. But the thing is, that means that all my notes on it are kind of scattered across different like Word documents, and every episode has kind of been a miniature reset in my mind. I don't have thoughts on the whole thing all together. And that's kind of a problem because we're going to be talking about episodes 2 through 10 here.
Wow, it's a
And
10 to 10.
I've seen them all. I've enjoyed most of them, but
All right. I just
I don't know
feel
what to say.
all right. We can talk about it in general first, and then I think we can explore like some of the details. Like this character die, the other one died. They all gonna be dying actually. This is the
Yeah.
tale of tragedy.
Well, that's the thing. It's the show's been on a tragic journey. You know, the destination has been the elimination of the Heike clan since very, very early on. I mean, as early as the first couple of episodes, it was obvious that was what was going to happen because the show kept using like symbols and metaphorical language, showing flowers being cut off of
Yep.
bushes and falling to the ground, and you know, there's literally a character who can see the future, who sees different members of the Tyra family, you know, like
Yep.
drowning or dying in some way. So yeah, obviously we were headed in this direction all along, but the show has managed to be pretty poetic about it. So
Yep. I think
still has an impact whenever a character
and
dies or whenever a battle is lost.
for me, like the whole experience with Heike Monogatari is that I found like half of it to be like really emotional, resonate with me. Like I remember like episode 1, episode 2, and just recent episode 9 was really good. 10 was okay as well, and then there's the other half where like it more when it's not focused on Biwa or the members of the families, and it become a little bit like too it's strange for me. I don't feel really connected with that. and
Well, let's
and
let's yeah, let's talk about Biwa for a second because she's a
mhm,
really, I mean, first of all, obviously she's not a historical figure. She
mhm,
wasn't part of the original tale of the Heike. She's how could she be? She's a character who like sees the past and the future
yep,
and never ages, and
yep,
so she's an invention of the of this adaptation.
yep,
Um, and it's she's an interesting character. She inherits Shigemori's eye, who sees the past and sees ghosts and things upon his death. And I think episode 4,
mhm,
and she's perfectly positioned to be the author of the actual Heike Monogatari, the tale of the Heike,
yep,
which was written in the 13th century probably,
mhm,
or perhaps the early 14th. There's like debate about when it was compiled exactly,
yep.
but it's the I don't feel as though her presence is really required for the story.
I
Episode 9
right.
was the one that kind of crystallized my thoughts on the matter because
Huh.
she goes to see her mother,
Yep.
and the existence of a Shirabuyoshi who has eyes like hers is hinted at as early as episode 2.
Mm.
So you figure this is an important part of her character, and this is going to be like the climax of her arc is her meeting with her mother. And in episode 9, when she met her, I just felt like it came off completely flat.
It a bit gross on that scene. I feel because yeah it's supposed to like they have been building up for that moment for a while, like in episode 2, and when they actually meet each other, it's just a few minutes, and Biwa just decided to leave, and then they have like reconciliation, and then Biwa just gone. So yeah, so
Yeah.
it got a bit rushed.
Well, not only is it just a few minutes, I mean, everything in this show is just a few minutes because, like characters' tragic deaths are just a few minutes because it's got to get to the next thing all the time. It's adapting a massive, like, epic poem that covers 15 years or something, probably
Mhm.
more, into an 11 episode TV anime adaptation. And is that even possible? I guess. I mean, the show's doing it, and it's creating a lot of excellent moments along the way, like in isolation. I think, for example, episode 9 with Atsumori's death,
Mhm.
where he's challenged by the guy, and they're doing battle in the ocean, and like the lights playing off the water,
Mhm.
uh, and Atsumori, like he ends up defeated, and he's like looking up at he's on his back in the waves looking up at the guy, and he's like he makes up his mind, he resolves himself to die like an honorable death, like a warrior's death.
Yep.
It's really excellent scene in my opinion,
Mhm.
at least.
Yep.
But then in the same episode you can have Biwa meeting with her mother, and it's not just that the scene was short, it was that like the connection between her and her mother, they share a supernatural connection. They both have eyes that
Mhm.
can see the future.
Mhm. Mhm.
And nothing really comes of that. Nothing is made of that. It's just a kind of a typical mother who abandoned her daughter thing,
Mhm.
that even plays out in like romantic comedies sometimes when the female lead, is like looking for her birth mother or something. It just felt very like plain and not in keeping with the series' epic scope. So
Mhm.
I was just really let down by that, and it kind of made me question whether Biwa even needed to be part of the story at all.
Yeah, well, I do think that by episode 9, um, we can see like her role as of the story of this as the storyteller, and I think it
Yes.
kind of fit. So she kind of use her superpower not to change the event, but to like tell the tales of all the ones that she been close to, that she have a connection to, tell them in her point of views. I
Mm-hmm.
think I like that direction. So she since it as an expand of her like her old character development. So I think that's why the focus is not really about her and her mother, but it's about her coming to terms with, like, I'm gonna be the storyteller now, and I think that is where I think she fit into the main story now. She's more active than
Yeah,
ever
that's
before.
I guess. I mean, not really, because she doesn't attempt to change anything or do anything. She's just an observer and a chronicler. That's not an active character.
Well,
Um,
she
she's an
was
she's an observer.
she was a non-active observer. Now she an active one observer. So,
An active observer.
yeah. So like she determined to, like, to do it and to tell the story. So
She is determined. That much is true. She's resolved herself to return to the Tyra family and to be with them and witness their demise.
yeah.
Because she knows that's what's going to happen. I mean, she's seen Emperor Antoku's future. She knows that he's going to drown. She's seen the futures of all these characters, we can assume.
Yeah.
And one thing that I thought was really interesting, the show didn't even touch on this during Biwa's meeting with her mother, was that Biwa's mother probably saw that her lover, Biwa's dad, was going to die.
Yep.
She probably saw that about him and chose to leave to spare herself that pain. But that, that's just an inference that I'm making. The show didn't even imply that.
Yep.
And I just think the implications of like future sight and the tension between trying to change the future versus the inability to do so, it's like way more interesting concept than the show actually did anything with.
Yep.
In the end, Biwa is just the teller of the tale of the Heike. And I think there is something to the idea that she returns, quote unquote, home and vows to stick it out with the Heike until the end. It's an admirable decision, I suppose. But I don't think that she's one of the show's strongest characters. I mean, for me, Shigemori is easily the show's best character, and he died in the 4th episode.
he left the show too soon. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I knew since I've been writing about the show, and it is like extremely dense with like historical events in every episode. I've been on Wikipedia figuring this stuff out, and so I knew he was going to die. And I was like, oh, what is the show going to look like after this? And it's done reasonably well for itself without his support. But man, he really was the best. Like the scene where he prays at the shrine for his life. If the Heike are to perish, he prays for his life to be shortened so he wouldn't witness it. And then you see like a portion of his spirit leave his body.
Yep.
Yeah.
The life forces come out of his body. Yes.
Yeah. He's just like such an honorable guy. He stands against his own father and says, like, I will draw up an army against you if you don't maintain loyalty to the emperor. He's just so like chivalrous and noble, and his death was the first sign of the Heike's collapse, I guess. It was like a poor omen for what their clan would go through in the coming years.
Yeah, it is funny how his dad always regarded him as you are the most boring one. Oh, your decision is boring.
Yeah, that is interesting. Kiyomori is also a very interesting character. The dad.
Yep.
Or the grandfather, I suppose, at this point.
Yep. He want to amuse. So he always make everything so that it amuse him. And he greedy, and he's not a good character at all. But yeah, he just got damn entertaining to watch.
Well, it's true that he's kind of like whimsical and he's in it for his own amusement and stuff. But I also think that's a bit of a facade because he's also shown to be like extremely prideful and vain and violent. For example, the guys who maybe in episode 3. Conspire against the Heike, word gets back to him, and he has one of them, Shunkan, I think, maybe not Shunkan. Shunkan's the monk who gets stranded on
Exile.
that island
Yep.
and dies. Yeah, exiled. But somebody, one of the other people who were plotting against the Heike, he has him, executed. But before that, he kicks him, like he beats him himself personally.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you can see on his face, he's enraged
Yeah.
by the accusations that the guy makes against the Heike, like claiming that they're, I don't know. What exactly does he say about the Heike at that point? Like they've overstepped their bounds and
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Something
don't have
about
the
it,
interests of the people at heart. They're just really in it for their own enrichment and their own, their own glory. Which was true. It's all true of Kiyomori, and the way that he's banished to hell,
yeah.
because like all this supernatural stuff is factual in this show. It's all
It's
characters really
factual.
are
Yeah.
sent to
Yeah.
like different levels of hell, and he's sent to the lowest one. And
Yep.
there's even there's like two characters who come for him, like a bull and a horse, who appear in his dream and then appear in his a dream that his wife has, who
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
tell
I
her
remember
like there's a reason for his current suffering, why he's experiencing this like terrible heat, and he's going to be sent to the lowest level of hell. It's all very like classical in its storytelling, like
that. Yep.
there's real what's the word for afterlife?
Nirvana.
Well, no, it's not Nirvana. He goes to the opposite of Nirvana. He goes to the Avicii hell, which is the lowest level. But
Right.
there's real consequences for your actions on Earth that carry over into the next world.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Karma.
Karmic, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what Shigehira is dealing with right now.
Yeah.
Is that he burned the temples at Nara, and as a result, he has like terrible karma,
Yeah.
and he's been captured by the Genji.
Mm-hmm. God, I'm glad that you cover the show because you cover like all these important details and names, because like most of the time it lost me. It's just a lot going on. I can tell what's going on, but I just like can't put together like all the names and details. Like I still don't know that there's a guy in episode 8 and 9. He's like a thug, and he's from the opposition, and
He's like a what? A Turk? Is that what you said?
yeah, he looked like a thug. I don't even
He looks
know.
like a duck.
No. He looked like a thug, and he's
I can't understand what you're saying, but that's fine. You're probably talking about Yoshitsune, right? The guy who has kind of like a cold expression on his face. He's one of the Genji.
yeah. Go on, yes, and he actually he's one of the one who like plan the attack, and successfully seize many of the war things. Yes.
Well, this is one of the show's biggest failings, I think, or I shouldn't say failings necessarily, but weaknesses. Is their depiction of the Genji has been pretty lacking. Because in the actual tale of the Heike, the whole third act, like the last few chapters of the story, are primarily focused on the Genji, on the
Right.
I can't remember what their other name is, because there's like Chinese readings of all the characters in their names, and then there's also Japanese readings. Anyway, yeah, the Genji clan. The show has not done a tremendous job with all those characters. Yoshitsune is the most recent one to be introduced. He's got kind of feminine looks, and he's like he's a tactical genius. He's the one who's kind of taken over the war effort, basically. The guy with the really thin and narrow face, who kind of has a voice like this, where it sounds like everything he says is kind of a question.
All right.
He's Yoritomo. He's the actual head of the Genji. In episode 10, you saw him conferring with his wife about what they should do about Shigehira. And she's like, no, you have to kill him. You have to kill every single you have to kill every single member of the Heike family so that there's no rebellion in the future. And then there's Yoshinaka, who is like the Robin Hood guy, who we first met when he was like in the treetops.
Yep.
And
That
he had
one.
like his motley crew of followers. But he just ends up getting killed by Yoshitsune's forces in like an aside in episode 9. Like it's just mentioned offhandedly, so
Alright.
the whole
That's why.
conflict between the Genji family is not really, it's not the greatest in this adaptation.
Yep. Alright. I didn't catch on the fact that he already lost his life in episode 9. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not as though it happens off camera, because as one character is telling another character that this has happened, the show does cut to an image of him being stabbed through the neck with an arrow. That's Yoshinaka, the guy who's kind of like rough and wild. And Yoshitsune is the much cooler customer. He's the one who kind of looks a little bit like a woman. And in the most recent episode, episode 10, he falls in love with one of the 3 Shirabyoshi as they're dancing.
Yep. Alright. Remember that.
Yeah, so I mean, I like the designs of all these characters, I think, and the voice performances are really good. Yoshinaka's kind of like rumbling charisma is really like powerful, and Yuki Kaiji, who is a voice actor who I hate, like probably my least favorite voice actor to listen to in the entire industry, actually gives a really cool performance as Yoshitsune. I mean, he hardly says a thing, but there's a certain like icy edge to his tone of voice, like a haughtiness almost, and a superiority, but also a coldness.
Right.
So the performances are great, and I think the reason for that is that every voice actor who's been put onto this project understands the gravity of it, because they've probably all learned about the Tale of the Heike in school.
Yep.
Like this is a Japanese classic that most Japanese people, like probably, I don't know, at least a third of Japanese people have been exposed to, like have read in school, probably more.
Yep.
So everyone's like giving it their all, in the sound booth. But I don't know, it like there's just some stuff missing, like the structure of the adaptation and
Yeah.
like especially in the later episodes, the depiction of the Genji and their infighting and backstabbing and betrayal. It's not all there.
Yeah. Well. All right. I would say that first, I can understand why, this is the story, like you can see that in the title is the Heike, the story of Heike. So they put a lot more focus on the fall of the Heike families, and not that much on the Genji. So I can sort of see why, it happened the way it happened now, like the story had a plot going. At the same time, this is the kind of the story where I think that you need to have like a prior knowledge of it. So like all these all the Japanese people who already exposed of it in some way of when there was a trial until now. So like there is some reference of like some historical figures that like for us is completely off the head, but for them it's obvious. So we didn't.
They just have prior knowledge of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So that's my point. You what did you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, and it's, I suppose that's a fair point to make, that this is the Tale of the Heike. So like in terms of adapting it, you can make the choice to have it be mostly about them and to kind of freeze out the Genji, but in the actual poem, in the Tale of the Heike, the Genji do kind of take over the story towards the end. They become more important because the Heike have already declined to the point where their defeat is inevitable. After the battle in episode 7, where like tens of thousands of their soldiers get run off a cliff in the middle of the night.
Wow, that scene. Yep.
Yeah. that at that point, like that was the shift in the war, and from then on, it was just Genji, Genji, Genji. But yeah, I mean, introducing a new character like Biwa and opting to focus more on the characters in, like Shigemori.
Yep.
I kept saying Shigehira earlier because I was talking about his brother, but focusing more on Shigemori's family, like having him sort of at the center, Kiyomori above her, and then his sons,
Yep.
and his adopted daughter Biwa below him. It makes sense, and I like this show a lot. I've been doing research and doing my best to keep up with it. And I think that's really enhanced the experience of watching it. And I also think it's just like it's not as well animated as I would like. A lot of the the battle scenes are just kind of
have that like
taking
painting
the
look.
same. Well, I actually really liked maybe episode 5. I think it was when they treated the battle on the bridge, where a bunch of people like fell into the water, where the bridge was kind of cut in two. I think that was the first battle at the Uji River. I really liked what the show did there, where it kind of like created a long vertical image and kind of scrolled past it as though it was like a painting on a scroll. And you've got Biwa in her like priest form with the white hair and playing the lute and being like, "Hoya!" You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
The woman in red, and she's like got that kind of trembling vocal delivery where she's like reading off the poem, and it's scrolling across the long image of the battle. Man, I'm really belaboring this point, but basically what I want to say is I thought that was cool.
Yep.
But in some other battles, it's just like, there's been some like weird shaky cam stuff and a lot of stills, and that's all. It's all right, because it's really impossible to pull off battle animation, like medieval battle animation on this level in a TV project. But the animation hasn't been what I would have liked, at all points. However, the backgrounds, can anyone else even compete? They're so good.
Well, I actually have like one of its background as my at my wallpaper at the moment because it just looks so good. And I would say
Which one?
That's the one where it's overlooked. I will send you the.
I mean, you can probably just describe it to me, and I'll know which one it is.
All right, this one is more. It's overlooked the some of the houses on the lake, so it fall. Everything is red. It just in a really recent.
Is this from one of the episodes where they're still in Fukuhara?
No,
where Kiyomori made his palace.
It's the episode 10 one.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so it.
Yes, I know it. I actually have it in my head right now. It's going to be one of the screen caps that I'm going to use for my post on episode 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
It right after.
There's like a ton. There's a ton of red leaves in the trees, kind of orange almost.
Yep. That one.
I know the image. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I say that the background design is just like unbeatable.
That's right.
I don't know if the show actually has my favorite backgrounds of the year. It's got some competition.
Yep.
But they've been very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it's great. The lighting, all the sunsets.
With you. Yeah, I agree with you mostly on the production. So the animation would have been like better. I still really like the shot composition and the use of like flowers as a motif, and the background was
not just that, but also
really
animals.
Good. Animals,
like when characters die. For example, in episode 9, Kiyotsune commits suicide. He throws himself into the sea off of his boat. And I mean, his brother does the same thing in episode 10.
Yeah.
Like kind of a copycat suicide almost.
Yep.
because they've both like completely lost faith in the Heike's cause. But when Kiyotsune in episode 9 throws himself into the sea, he's represented later in the episode as a seagull, which is flying alone in a tracking shot.
Right.
And then
Wow.
Atsumori is on his horse, and he's riding on the beach. He passes the seagull. Then he gets into man-to-man combat with Kumagai Naozane. That's when Atsumori dies at the end of episode 9. And then after he dies, he also, as a seagull, joins the first seagull, and there's a shot of the two flying together because he and Kiyotsune are now united in death. The show does stuff like that all the time. It represents like characters' fates or just general like states of mind or whatever with not only with flowers and with like, you know, shots of the natural world and stuff, but also with animals. And it's really, you know, it really is just like the show goes for kind of a poetic structure and composition.
Yep.
Because I mean, it is based on a poem.
Thanks for pointing that out because thanks for pointing that out because I couldn't. I didn't get that at all.
There's tons of stuff just like that.
One thing though that I still feel a bit iffy about is the soundtrack because sometimes they use like the rock, like sort of like modern rock soundtrack, and it just completely, you know, like get me out of the picture every time it plays.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really wild about the soundtrack. There have been some scenes where I thought it was really appropriate. For example, in episode 5, which is the one where we get our first really big battle, where Koremori is kind of on the front lines for the first time.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite episodes because the color work in that episode is completely muted. It because there's a lot of fire, and so there's smoke in the air. And as a result, all the colors are kind of earthy, and it gives the episode a bit of a gritty feeling in comparison to pretty much every other episode. Anyway, that battle where Koremori is on the front lines for the first time, it has a really cool musical accompaniment, and I can't remember how it goes exactly. It would take me a long time to scroll through all my notes and find it. Yeah. Anyway, from time to time, I feel like the show does a good job of bringing out, you know, like the emotions of the characters. But when it does skew particularly, like electric or electronic, not always working for me. Yeah,
not working at all for me.
Well, that's too bad. I mean, it is a period piece, so. Yeah, you would want the music to be a little bit more traditional. But to be fair, we do get a lot of lute performances, both from Biwa in the present day, and from the scenes where it cuts away to her in the black background when she's like in her enlightened form. You know.
And even like they playing flute as well. I remember like episode 8 or something that they like watching the moon and like 3 of them
the moon
playing
viewing
flute
party.
Yeah, that's right.
That's Kiyotsune, right. Atsumori, and Shigehira.
Good job.
Yeah, that's one of the scenes where you get the connection between Kiyotsune and Atsumori, who are two of the younger members of the primary Heike branch. And you get the sense that there's like they're like kindred spirits, sort of. There's almost something a little bit homoerotic about it, even, which I think was probably intentional on Yamada's part. She likes that sort of thing, but then the two of those characters are eventually reunited as seagulls in episode 9. So they're like together in the afterlife.
All right. Is Heike Monogatari is only like 11 episodes, so the next one gonna be the finale.
Yeah. Right. It's interesting because the actual tale of the Heike is 12 chapters. And each of those chapters is long enough that you could probably get like 3 anime episodes out of it. So not only are we going to have fewer episodes than chapters, but the balance was stacked against the anime to begin with, because you can't even do a 1-to-1 adaptation like that. It's not really possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it is possible. The show's doing it, and it's I like it. It's probably going to be one of my favorite anime of the year. But it's knowing what I know about the source material. It's
Yeah.
all to think about all the different ways that it could have excelled or done things a little bit differently. You're like, oh man, well I really wish this had been this, and blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Yeah. I probably would have to do a rewatch in order to catch everything before we cast our anime of the year, because I
Well, the
feel
thing
like
is, if you're not
yeah.
Japanese, you probably
Yeah.
like, even if you're online researching it and blah 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 and trying to figure everything out, you can't catch everything. Like
Yeah.
you probably have to know, you have to have a larger base of knowledge of Japanese history in order to
Yeah, you have to be a
appreciate
Japanese.
the tale of the Heike at all.
Yep, I agree.
But it's a good show. I mean, it's really ambitious, and it's frequently very beautiful and poetic, and I respect that, because we don't get a lot of anime like that.
Yep, true. All right. I think it's time to get to the other one. Lupin III Part VI.
Yeah, I'm dropping this show.
Oh, right. After how many episodes? How many episodes have you watched?
After 6, I've watched all 6
Oh, right.
so far, and this is the end for me.
All right. That's sad to hear. Have you watched like the Part 5 and Part 4?
Yeah, I've seen all of Part 4 and Part 5, and I mean, we're still early in Part 6. The show's still goofing around and telling like individual stories and stuff.
It's
as
so
it
goofing
frequently
around.
did in what?
Yeah, it just so goofing around. Like after the first 2 episodes of Sherlock Holmes, we don't see any Sherlock Holmes anymore, and then we actually treat it like a more of the single like mission. I enjoy many of them so far, but yeah,
What did you think about the most recent one, episodes 5 and 6?
it's a dream, right? It within a dream.
Yes.
So like in episode 5, I think I can sort of realize that he's not in the real world, because he didn't know where with either he was, and all the other characters just like act differently. But I just, for the life of me, I can't think why it's Lupin and Guamon who actually go through that. Like why does Lupin realize that it's him and Guamon and not the others, because all the others appear?
It's because he makes a reference to Goemon's sword.
Right.
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
but that's why. And based on Goemon's reaction to that reference, he knows that he's also quote unquote real.
Oh, right.
But we don't understand really anything about the situation that he found himself in the real world, where he was trapped inside of this illusion by a dream, by a team of scientists who wanted to get the password for his hideout so they could.
Yep, they can do something. Yes.
Yeah, it was just like, I just thought both of these episodes were nonsense. Yeah. Honestly, straight up, like they just wanted to tell a story about like a magical clock from Inner Mongolia, and they hijacked Lupin's characters and setting in order to do it.
All right. I actually feel like all these one-off characters in this 2 episodes are actually quite memorable.
You're talking about like how do you say your name? Ruriko.
Yeah.
L's and R's when you're trying to pronounce Japanese words with a Japanese accent are so difficult when they start with it. Anyway, Ruriko and Sarantuya, who is actually like the king or the prince of Mongolia or something.
The king, yes, and Even like the detective, like have we met him anywhere before? This the Japanese
I
super
don't know. You're talking about Akechi something.
Yeah.
Akechi Kogoro, the private detective who's cooperating with Zenigata, whose name is actually Namikoshi in this delusion of
Yep.
Lupin's, or this
So,
alternate world or something. But like, who cares about any of this? None of it is real.
yeah. Well.
And it's not like a cool dream or alternate reality or anything where you're like, oh my god, this is actually really thought provoking and kind of informs my opinion of these characters based on how they're choosing to progress through like this dream logic and it doesn't do it. It's just another Lupin caper, but at the end it's like, oh, what a twist! It was all in your imagination.
Yep. Well, I still enjoy it, like like as a as something that like watch to pass the time. It's actually entertaining for me. Even like episode 4 when they are like in the diner. All right,
That one was kind of interesting. It was like a little bit Tarantino-esque in the first half.
All right. I just
because
yeah, the reason that
what's that?
I was mentioning it and I just stopped because I saw the name Mamoru Oshii in there, and
he wrote the fourth
he's
episode.
a writer. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting, but I really like the concept of that. Like they do a lot of talking. They do and it's like the calm before the storm, and like when shit hits the fan, like all these assassins, they just try to kill off each other. I like it, but the waitress, why if had to be a Fujiko, like they could go with like a new characters, like let's something else, something fresh. Turn out it just
Lupin doesn't.
Lupin.
That's how Lupin is. It all revolves around Lupin, Jigen, Goemon, and Fujiko and Zenigata.
I mean, like they
and apparently Sherlock Holmes in this version.
Yep.
But part 5 also had like an MI6 agent who was like a recurring character, and part 4 had Rebecca, who was Lupin's fiance.
Right, I did.
I actually really liked Rebecca a lot. Part 4 was probably my favorite of the more recent Lupin series from the past decade.
All right, haven't watched.
Obviously, discounting Takashi Koike's series of 3 films.
Yep.
Those are actually my favorite Lupin maybe ever.
A woman called a woman called Fujiko.
A woman called Fujiko Mine. No.
Mine, yeah, that's right. No.
No.
All right.
No, the Takashi Koike films are Jigen's Gravestone, Fujiko's Lie, and Goemon's Blood Spray. Those are all cool. Anyway, of course the waitress was going to be Fujiko. That's, ever since Lupin started using the face mask thing where everyone just wears masks of each other, sometimes I've seen episodes where like the character's wearing 2 masks. So it's like Lupin is underneath, and then he wears the mask of another character, and on top of that is a mask of Lupin, so that he can trick people who just unmask him only once and think, oh, this isn't Lupin. But it really is him. Like, the show just goes wild with that.
This actually happened the same in episode 3. You remember, like,
did it?
Yeah, the railroad things.
That's the railroad one.
The railroad one, and there is a party at the end, at the climax, and we see Chicken and Goemon, like dressing as themselves, and then Zenigata come to like address them, and they just reveal to be like some stranger, and when he left, they put up under mask to reveal themselves.
Okay.
So yeah.
I guess I was probably remembering that when I was talking about the double mask thing, but the show's done that before. Like that wasn't their first time doing the double mask trick. It's just silly. So whenever you see a character, any character at all, who
Yeah.
has like speaking lines and is prominent in any scene whatsoever. There's 25% chance that they're wearing a mask.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it just gets to be kind of ridiculous at times. Like, sometimes when you watch a Lupin episode, you just feel like there are no stakes at all because obviously everyone's going to survive, and the thief or the bad guy, the villain, the antagonist is going to get outsmarted in the end.
Yeah.
People can always just use a gadget or take off a mask or put one on in order to avoid peril. Sometimes there are episodes like 5 and 6 where everything is literally a dream and it does not matter. And Lupin can, after being trapped within like a crystal fortress, can go over to a weird terminal that has emerged from the ground and just type in a bunch of like turn some dials and type in some letters on a bizarre antiquated keyboard typewriter thing in order to like what the fuck was that? What I was
Yeah.
embarrassed watching that, dude. I was like, this is so bad. None of this
Really?
matters at all. None of this is real. Yeah, it's just, oh,
Yeah.
look,
Well.
a bunch of weird crystals. Now we're trapped. What's going on? Oh, here. Oh, I'm Lupin. I can just type into any computer and any typewriter and save the day and get us out of here. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Well. I.
no,
I.
no,
I.
no, no,
I
no.
would. I would agree with you that these episodes are nonsensical, but for me, it's in a good way. It's fun.
Okay, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hated episode 6 specifically. I really, really hated, and
Right.
it was. I think there was a. I don't think it was particularly well storyboarded because there was a lot of discontinuity between shots. I'll
Mhm.
just. I noted. I actually wrote down several examples, but I'll just give one.
Yep.
Do you remember the scene where they're in the cell where Ruriko and Sarantuya have been trapped, and Daidoji, the Japanese imperial military commander guy,
Yep. 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 Yep.
is like, "You better give me the clock, or else we need it." See,
Mm-hmm.
then Akachi shows up, and he's actually Lupin wearing a mask. As Akachi is like tricking Daidoji, and is going to lock him in the cell. That's the result of the scene, essentially, is that Daidoji gets locked in the cell. You
Mm-hmm.
see Akachi and the old man who comes in and offers the two women the onigiri to eat. You see
Yep.
the two of them exit the room, like step through the doorway, so they're like on the other side, and he can lock Daidoji in the cell. So the two of them exit. Then there's a cut to a shot of the keyhole where it's locked, and then
Uh,
it pans up to Daidoji seen through the bars. The show never, you don't see the two women, Ruriko and Sarantuya, exit the room. However, they have exited just off camera,
mm-hmm.
and when it pulls back, you see that not only Lupin and the old man, but also those two women are outside of the cell. Like this, we didn't see them leave at all. They just teleported
Yep.
essentially. Um, there was and the old. Do you remember the old man, right? Who gave them the rice balls and stuff?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that at all? The old man who comes in and Daidoji assumes that the
Yeah.
old
Yeah. Yeah.
man
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Lupin.
I
Yeah.
remember that. Yep.
So the old man is out in the hallway with them, with Lupin and the two women, and then the real Akachi shows up.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's 5 people, including the old man. However, when they're fleeing from the enemy, when they're trying to get out of there, the old man mysteriously vanishes. He's not running with them. He's nowhere to be found. What happened to him?
Yeah. And I think
We
it kind
don't
of
know.
strange that it kind of strange that we see the old man, like offering something. And yeah, he had like too much screen time for like for being nothing.
Well, he's a red herring. You're meant to assume that he's Lupin when in reality Lupin is Akachi. But so I get that, I guess. But he just disappears. The show's like, well, we don't need him anymore. They're
It's
trying to
all just
escape.
a dream.
The old man is just like, I don't know. Did he pass out and collapse while they were running away, and they just left him there?
It's all just a dream.
See, that's the thing, man. Whenever you tell a story that's set in a dream, you can just do whatever you want. And I mean, if it's cool, if it's thought provoking, like engaging, visually interesting, I'm game. When it's stupid and Lupin gets out of like a crystal jail cell with a bunch of mirrors that fall out of the fucking sky for no reason at all by typing into an old typewriter that also has like a weird safe locker thing on it.
Yeah.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah. He actually didn't write any
That's not
passcode.
allowed.
He actually draws some making thing to like I don't know what he did.
I don't know, man.
So let's move to touch.
Yeah, let's do that, I guess.
All right, touch.
Let me get out my touch notes.
All right.
Okay, here we go. How do you feel about these episodes? So the major development in these is Minami joining the gymnastics team, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. And Tatsuya have like the very first match.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's just
first game as a pitcher. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a friendly match. It's not like in the competition or anything. I actually feel that these fight are a bit slow for me. I usually enjoy like all these characters interaction, but this one is not as much. They actually introduce one more characters, which finding the name now. I don't he's the one who joined in the baseball later on. He run really fast and Yoshida. All right, Yoshida. Yep. And he a fan of Tatsuya basically.
Yes. Yeah. He's not that interesting.
He's alright, but
yes.
With the introduction of him, I know that the redhead girl gonna wait for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and you want to meet her, so like the fact that he's eating up all of the screen time that could be hers, you're like, why doesn't this guy just get out of here?
Yeah, but now he joined the baseball team, so that's
I understand
good.
That.
So now that he joined the baseball team, that's good. I don't think he get that much screen time anymore.
Okay, I guess we'll see, huh?
Yeah.
So yes, his introduction is pretty fairly significant. There's Minami joining the gymnastics team. There's Tatsuya pitching his first game, which is just a friendly. And there's also Kotaro, who emerges as a major character, I think, in these episodes.
Yep.
In episode 31, we see Kotaro mourning Kazuya's death in like a very direct fashion, which none of the other characters have really done. He just cries.
Mm-hmm.
He just cries and cries because his best friend is gone.
Yep.
And we haven't seen anybody else do that, I don't think. Yeah, I know there's a shot of Minami who cries underneath a bridge, but I can't remember if that was ever worked into an actual episode or if that was just part of the first OP.
Yeah, well,
you know which shot I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember. There is an episode where they show on the flashback, the recap episode. I think that's the episode where Minami, like cry under the bridge.
Okay, so that was they used that cut in episode 27. I got you.
Yep.
I do. Yeah. Now that you say that, I do seem to recall that it was worked into one episode or another. And when I was skimming the episodes to, get caught up and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch episode 27 at all, so I would have missed that.
Yeah, I think your point still
so not the first time
out.
we've seen somebody.
Yeah, I think your point still stand because when this main character crying, they usually crying alone. But I don't think Kotaro. It's just he's a big heart, so I think he cry in front of everyone, right?
I don't think he cries in front of everyone, but I do seem to remember that he's like Tatsuya approaches him while he's thinking about Kazuya.
Yep.
And that's the one of the major, or perhaps the major point of tension between those two characters is that Kotaro doesn't like Tatsuya, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a bunch of reasons. Obviously, they hate each other's guts and they're always fighting. That's a big part of these 5 episodes. But he probably doesn't appreciate the fact that Tatsuya is like keeping it all bottled up.
Yeah.
He would probably like to see Kazuya's brother cry for him, because that's how he feels. That's how Kotaro feels, and he can probably guess that that's how Tatsuya feels. But he doesn't like the fact that Tatsuya is just playing it so carefree. And he, of course, he also resents the idea that that Kazuya's brother could just fill in for him. He really doesn't like the fact that the captain of the baseball team has made that decision to step aside.
Yeah.
Because it is the captain's decision to make. He just gives up his position as the ace pitcher and is like, Tatsuya, you're it.
Yeah.
And Tatsuya's not, to top it all off, Tatsuya's not a good pitcher. He's naturally gifted, but he has no ball control, which these 5 episodes make abundantly clear.
Yep, that's right. And I found that Kotaro and Tatsuya, like growing relationship or growing trust each other in this 5 episodes is very interesting, because like you said at first, Kotaro is basically disapprove of Tatsuya involvement in the base as a pitcher, and then he decided to like get along with it, but like the tension we can see throughout the pitching, where he's just doesn't move, so that Tatsuya have to like pitch right into his base.
He has to like aim to the left in order to get it over the plate.
Yeah, that's right. And then later on
I thought the best part about all those scenes was the part where Minami like steps up to bat. She's like, he obviously needs someone to stand in the batter's box, so she stands in the batter's box, but she's got like an insane amount of padding on.
Yeah.
And she's like, go ahead, throw a pitch. She's like stuttering.
Yeah,
but she does hit a homer off of him because he's like throwing her softballs,
Yeah.
So she does that obviously to give him a little bit more confidence, or just to egg him on a little bit so he'll start to find his rhythm.
And there's this thing. Go on.
I don't even know what I was going to say. I was going to say she's a good girl, but that just sounds kind of patronizing. So never mind.
Yeah, there also the tension between Kotaro and Tatsuya in the changing room, where Tatsuya found out about the I think it's like the flowers, a ring of flowers.
It's like a flower wreath.
Yeah. And
that she made for Kazuya once upon a time, and he's like says, "Oh, it's just trash. Once the flowers have withered, it's just trash."
But it actually, I think it's Kotaro who put that there, not Minami, who still put that there into the inside the changing shoebox,
the locker.
Yeah, that's right. And that's
the shoebox.
Well, it is.
Did you not have lockers when you were in school?
No, I don't. We don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that figures. If you would not like immediately call it a locker, that's just interesting to me that you didn't have lockers. I mean, it was obviously Kazuya who put it there at first, because that used to be Kazuya's locker. Minami gave it to him after his first win, and he put it there. And then when Tatsuya finds it and calls it trash, I mean, Kotaro is like, he's ready to beat him up over that, and he does.
Yeah.
Well, he gets in one good swing at least. Tatsuya has his boxing experience, so even though Kotaro is so much bigger and stronger, he can still like kind of outskill him.
Yeah.
But it's, he calls it trash. Then Minami comes in. He says the same thing to her. Even like it's just, once the flowers have wilted, it's just garbage. I think he says that because he is still kind of insecure about the fact that she was so supportive of Kazuya. Because he doesn't know exactly where he stands with Minami. She's made it pretty clear. she's given hints and things, but
Yep.
he's not the sort of person who would just take that and run with it. You know, he can't. Obviously, his brother's just passed away. He doesn't feel right doing that, but it's also not in his character to hear that from a woman or from a girl and I don't know, get things going right away. He doesn't have that sort of confidence or that sort of brashness, I guess.
It's just funny the way they arrange it. You know, like they are, I would say, in year 10, so they are around like 16 years old. And when they found out that, you know, like they're now in the room, in the study room together, just by themselves, they put up the picture of Kazuya.
Yeah. I really like that scene. It was interesting because he suggests it at first, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Big Bad Wolf. You know, if you ever make a move on me, I'll just scream my lungs out."
Yeah.
You know, but and then so she's like, "Oh, we don't need the poster because I know you're full of it. You're not gonna make a move on me." Almost like she's daring him.
Yeah.
But then she says, "Oh, so you want to put it up right here?"
Yeah.
Because at that point, it kind of she's calling him out, but it also kind of shifts a little bit to like, well, let's really do it. Like, let's honor Kazuya by putting up his poster here.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. I think that there's a bit of subtext along those lines to that entire exchange. And then 2 episodes later, in episode 33, you actually see the poster.
Yep. Yep.
Because that's the little crack between them. And I think in episode 31. But then it actually does show up later. I just love continuity like that. That's really it's really cute. All their little scenes. Episodes 31, 32, and 35 out of this group of 5 all end in that study room or in that little clubhouse, whatever you call it. As I was skimming through the episodes again, reviewing them for this podcast, I saw episodes 31 and 32 did it, and I was like, are we going to go 5 for 5? Like, did the show just end this way all the time, and I didn't even pick up on it? But no. Not every episode ends that way. But I like the ones that do, you know, because I really like their relationship. I like Minami a lot.
Yeah.
I really like Tatsuya too. He's a great character. He's conflicted and not really sure of himself, even though he's so talented because of the experience that he had with his brother
and he's not even like a serious kid. You know, like sometimes he can be really serious, or sometimes he just slack off.
Yeah, he's lazy. He's kind of perverted. He's that was a big thing in episode, what was it, 35? Where he sees Minami naked when she opens up the window to yell at Punch for barking too much. He sees her, and from that point on in that episode, he flashes back to that moment a couple times, and he goes, and I think there's a scene somewhere in episode 35 where Sachiko calls him over to help with polishing the baseballs.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "This is Minami's job. Where is she?" And he goes over to the gymnasium and sees her practicing gymnastics. I think this is after he's seen her naked, and he sees her practicing in her leotard, and then he just silently goes back and starts polishing the baseballs. He can't say anything.
Yep. I think that was after the tournament as well. The tournament where she become an Isto star. So now everyone just on her now. And,
right. So in episode 33, that's the one with the gymnastics meet. Yep. And then episode 34 is the one where you kind of get the sense that, I mean, you don't kind of get the sense that Tatsuya is jealous. He's extremely jealous and possessive. But Minami has a pretty good response to that.
She
says, "Pictures are pictures. Minami is Minami."
Yep.
Was when I heard that line, I was like, "That's right. You you tell him."
Yeah.
All the other boys can look all they want, but they don't get to touch.
Oh, that's
the name of the show.
Oh, now I know why it's named Touch.
Yeah, that's right.
and he has the best view. So yeah, he's not someone who like in the position to complain with.
Yeah. Although
He
I mean,
the
he's insecure, so he does.
And this batch 5 of episode, one of the reason it's not in my favorite is we don't see a lot of Harada in these 5 episodes, and
That's true.
I love his contribution. Like he every time he's appeared, like he shine through.
That's true. There's not a lot of Harada.
Yeah,
He did show up in at least one of these episodes.
yep,
He was
yep,
talking to the captain of the boxing team, I think, and he was like
yep,
musing on the fact that Tatsuya was traded for an autograph.
yep, yep.
But nothing really comes out of that scene, I don't think.
Yeah, it just
Though
it
I mean,
just
the better Harada scene is the one where the two of them are watching the gymnastics competition, and Minami calls out "Tachan," and then,
Yep.
then Tatsuya says to Harada, "See you later,
See you.
Tachan," and then walks off.
That's good. See you later, Dacha.
Tatsuya's a funny guy. He's a funny guy.
Yep,
That's
yep.
probably why Minami likes him.
Yeah, well, so I hope that the next 5 episodes gonna be a little bit more thing to talk about.
There's plenty to talk about. I could say a lot more about all these episodes. I'm not going to because you have somewhere to be, but there's more that I can say
Yes.
about all these episodes.
So I just mean this is like a bit of a slow down in these 5 episodes, but I think the good stuff is coming. So
Well, I will give you a small spoiler
All
since
right.
you weren't particularly pleased with these episodes. At the start of episode 36, there is a time skip.
right.
That's all I'll say.
All right.
There's a time skip. At the very, very next episode.
All right. Okay, I'm looking forward to that. I'm still waiting for that Brett Haggers to appear to make like an official appearance.
She will, I mean, yeah, she's already shown up twice, but she will be introduced. She'll get a name and everything. It'll happen eventually. I won't say when.
All right. Cool. Yep. As I gonna be busy, have plan later on, so I think we can cut this now.
We're gonna cut this now. We're done.
Yeah, we done.
We're
Actually.
finished. Yeah, we'll talk about Touch again in a couple weeks. But that's the only thing that we're going to be uploading to this channel in 2 weeks. Everything else we'll be discussing will be live action films, which we'll do over on Triple Cross Cinema.
Yep.
There should be a link to that somewhere on our channel. I already linked it once.
Yep.
And there's I don't know if there is or not. Like check the related channels tab if you're really interested. If you made it an hour and 33 minutes into this recording.
The next one gonna be the Japanese movies. Am I right? That's gonna be Shoplifters from 2008. Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy just from this year, and All About Lily Chucho in 2001. From three of my favorite Japanese director working right now.
All right. Well, I mean, those are Japanese films, so that's kind of like anime, right?
Yeah, they all speak the same language.
Yeah, there you go. It's anime. That's what we'll be doing in a couple weeks. Then 2 weeks after that, we will be back on our anime grind with 10 shows from 2002.
Yep.
But that's a month. That's a month from now. So don't worry about that for now. Just have a good one. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.